Hello friends, welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 8th June 2021. Let us see which are the important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, these are the important articles relevant to our mains examination and prelims examination. First of all, we will take overview of all these articles and then we will discuss them in detail one by one. First article, connecting the dots to mitigate a third wave. The context of the article, it is talking about the preparedness that is required to deal with any such further pandemic wave of COVID-19 disease. So this dot strategy very well explained in this article, very important for our examination from GS2 paper, governance and COVID-19 aspect that we are discussing and having follow up on daily basis. So accordingly we will take input here. Next, fair wind. This particular editorial, it is having the context of the good monsoon that we are having in last 2 years and the possible trend continuing this year also, and its impact on economy, Indian economy, and in particular agriculture sector. Okay, so from geography, GS1 paper, GS3 paper, economy, how Indian economy is intricately linked with Indian monsoon and distribution of rainfall, that becomes important for our examination. Then protect LGBTQIA plus community. High Court, basically Madras High Court, it has directed central government to take certain measures for protection of LGBT community and the people belonging to these communities. So what are these measures are to be required and directed by High Court to the central government. This is important from social justice perspective, GS2 paper. Okay, along with that, what are the issues faced by LGBT community from ethical perspective, ethical issues involved, that point also we will discuss there. Then from prelims specifically, we can see this article, Maldives wins UNGA election, India seeks close cooperation. Yes, on 3rd June we discussed about this, the President of UNGA, this election to this president was going on, and how this election is conducted, the position of president, all these aspects, this becomes important for prelims examination, international organizations and some basics about them. Lastly, some COVID-19 related developments at national and international stage that we are having follow up on daily basis, and daily prelims MCQs for practice purpose that we are solving on today's current affairs. Right. Next, now we will go into details of all these articles one by one. First article, connecting dots to mitigate third wave. Now, the word dots is used here for the dot strategy. Okay, so dot strategy to prepare for third wave of pandemic. So before going into the dot strategy, let us try to understand some basic concept involved here. Reproduction number, represented by this capital R number. What is this reproduction number? The average number of infections possible from one COVID-19 patient or the person who is already infected. From that person, the average number of total infection that can spread from that one person, this is called as reproduction number. Now, when this reproduction number is greater than 1, generally there is increase in number of cases. There is generally increase in number of cases, and when this R is less than 1, then there is decline in number of cases. Okay, so at present there is a situation that if we are talking about second wave, earlier the infection rates was less than 1, but slowly it became more than 1, and suddenly the cases started increasing. Now the cases have started declining, the peak have been achieved for the second wave. So this is how we need to understand this concept, reproduction number. Now this reproduction number R depends on 4 factors which are given as acronym as dots. Okay, which are these 4 factors in dots? R depends on 4 factors. Yes, dots. First, for D, duration of infectiousness. Duration of infectiousness. O, for opportunities for transmission. opportunities for transmission. T, probability of transmission. T, probability of transmission. And S, susceptibility of the population to the infection, the proportion of population susceptible to the infection. This dots, these four factors decides the reproduction number. Okay, so we have to understand the present situation, or we can say the issues involved, the challenges in achieving these zero, or we can say dealing with these four factors and way forward. First of all, duration of infectiousness. Okay, this first factor that we are talking about, duration of infectiousness. Yes, we can understand that there are different variants evolving of this COVID-19 virus, and the new variants from time to time of this virus have been increased, or we can say that there is increased transmissibility as well as infectiousness. This shows the high level of infectiousness of new variants, right? So this increases the duration of infectiousness. The present situation that we are seeing, especially the Delta variant of Indian double mutant variant, we can say, and this such kind of new variants increases the duration of infectiousness. Suppose I am the patient and I am being infectious for more duration of time. Okay, then what will happen? There are more chances the new infection from me, right? So this is how we have to understand duration of infectiousness. Second aspect, opportunities for transmission. Opportunities for transmission. Now such kind of opportunities for transmission are increased when there is, let's say, no COVID-19 appropriate behavior by the people, right? So opportunities for transmission, basically we can say that when the markets are open, we have seen this in December, January, when there were very less number of cases and there were very less restrictions on the economic activities. The people flooded in the market, social distancing norms were not followed, and this gives the opportunity for transmission. At the same time, we need to understand the super spreading event. Super spreading event, right? So these events, these are the opportunities for transmission that we need to understand. Now the third one, probability of transmission. Probability of transmission. Such probability of transmission increases when person does not wear mask, has low immunity, there is no ventilation in the closed spaces. This increases the probability of transmission. Comorbidities, right? So all these are increasing the probability of transmission. Along with that, the fourth one, proportion of population susceptible to the infection. Such susceptibility basically is the ability of the virus, or we can say to evade the immunity of the people and make them susceptible for infection, right? So such large proportion of the people, at present we can say only around 25%, looking at the sero survey that was carried out throughout the country, only around 25% people have the antibodies in their body, bodies we can say, and because of that large population still is susceptible to the infection. Along with that, we have to also understand new variants are evading the kind of, we can say, immunity that is already being created. At the same time, the duration of the antibodies, the number of antibodies and the kind of immunity, long-term immunity, at present we do not have that much information, studies about that. Okay, so this shows how people are susceptible for infection, right? So all these are the present situation. Now as a way forward, In these 4 areas, what steps are required? When the new variants are evolving, first thing, when the new variants are evolving with more duration of infectiousness, there is need to revise guidelines for home isolation and quarantine guidelines, right? So because if suppose the duration of infectiousness is more number of days for quarantine and home isolation is required. So this is how the government from time to time focus on identifying these new variants. Genome sequencing should be the continuous, we can say, practice now, and the government should take input accordingly and changes should be brought in its policy. Second aspect, opportunities for transmission. Here we can understand that the localized lockdowns and the containment zones has been effective. Micro containment zones, this has been effective strategy at local level to reduce the opportunities for transmission. Along with that, we have to also understand the people should follow the social distancing norm for reducing the probability of transmission, and there should be good ventilation in the rooms. People should avoid closed places. There should be enough ventilation in the rooms. This reduces the probability of transmission. Along with that, the people should wear the mask in a proper manner, appropriate manner, at the same time in a consistent manner, regularly, right? And finally, proportion of the population susceptible to the infection. Here, to reduce the susceptibility, the ultimate solution is vaccination. At present, the government is working on war footing to vaccinate all the population. Recently, yesterday itself, our Prime Minister announced that the vaccination rate will be increased. At the same time, the younger population will be provided vaccine at free of cost, and the central government will procure all the vaccines and provide to the states. So good policy measures are being taken to reduce the susceptibility of the population to the infection. This is how we can understand that ultimately if we achieve this one, that reducing the susceptibility of the population to this infection, then this pandemic will get over. Okay, so ultimately we have to focus on this dot strategy. What kind of question we can expect here? Directly, dot strategy can prove effective in control and management of further new waves of the pandemic. Substantiate. Such kind of question we can expect because your mains examination will be in December. Up till that time, we may or may not experience the third wave of COVID-19 pandemic. So you should be prepared about as a way forward or the measures that are required to prevent such new waves of the pandemic in the country, right? Okay. Now moving on to next article. Fair wind. The context here, it is talking about the monsoon rainfall that we are receiving since last 2 years. Good monsoon rainfall, and the expected this year also good monsoon rainfall as forecasted by IMD, and its impact on Indian economy. This year's monsoon forecast by IMD, this is 101% of long period average of rainfall, that is 88 centimeter. That is 88 centimeter. If we are talking about the earlier one in 2020, we had this as 109% rainfall of long period average. In 2019, we had 110% of long period average. Now this was more than normal. This was more than normal rainfall. Okay, so normal rainfall according to IMD constitutes 96% to 104% of long period average. 96% to 104% of long period average. Now this year normal monsoon have been predicted. However, the good monsoon have been predicted in agricultural zones, especially central India, central and eastern India. Which are these states? Odisha, MP, West Bengal. Right. So these are the states, Chhattisgarh also. So these states will receive more rainfall. At the same time, you need to be aware the agriculture here practiced is largely rain-fed agriculture or farming. Okay, so for that matter, this is good news for these states. Along with that, there will be less rainfall, less than average rainfall for northeastern states. This is the monsoon prediction forecast this year. Along with that, we have to also understand the significance, overall significance of monsoon for Indian economy. Such kind of question we can expect in GS1 paper as well as GS3 paper, but more probably in GS1 paper geography aspect. What is this significance for economy? First and foremost is for agriculture sector. At present, agriculture sector is the only shining light or shining sector in our economy, we can say, which has escaped largely the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. So the focus should be on agri-led growth in the country or the economy. So agriculture, largely we can say, even in agriculture around 55, or we can say, yes, now 60% of the cropping area or sown area, that is irrigated, and around 40% is, we can say, still rain fed. This irrigation can be of different types. We can say pump irrigation, or we can say canal irrigation, tube well irrigation, not pump directly, we can say tube well irrigation. So such kind of irrigation methods are used. And rain fed agriculture, largely still it is followed in these states. Just now we talked like MP, Odisha, these states, and therefore the intensive agriculture, intensive farming is still not yet practiced in these states. Okay, so good monsoon means the areas from this, we can say rain fed farming will be good this year. Along with that, we can say, when it's agriculture, the food processing industry, right, food processing industry, important raw material for food processing industry comes from agriculture, right. So that ensures the inputs to food processing industry. Ultimately, again there will be industrial growth in this sector, employment generation, again poverty elevation, all these aspects, cluster based growth, these aspects are important for GS1 paper, geography part. Further, the other aspects of significance, if we are talking about the rural employment and these agriculture activities basically ensures the employment to rural landless labor, and therefore ensure their livelihood also. This ensures their poverty or sustenance, poverty elevation and sustenance. Along with that, if we are talking about the spillover effect, of the agriculture and all these activities is very important. If we are talking about not only this, then we can also talk about the forestry and the all allied activities with the farming, dairy sector or meat industry, if poultry sector. So agriculture includes all these allied activities also, that is also going to get boost. So ultimately we can say our agriculture sector and overall economy is to some extent it is linked to the monsoon and its distribution of rainfall. Now we know that there is variability and the distribution is not even, and therefore the rainfall pattern that we observe throughout the country, accordingly the economic activities are differently carried out in different, right. So this decides the distribution of rainfall or rainfall pattern decides the cropping pattern also. When there is more rainfall there will be rice cultivation, and when there is less rainfall we can say that the cultivation of jawar, or we can say even cotton cultivation happens in the tropical states or where the black cotton soil is available like Maharashtra, right. So all these aspects that we need to consider, and how this agriculture and diversity even in agriculture and sowing or cropping pattern, sorry, it depends on rainfall patterns. Okay, this is, you need to connect, give some examples by showing this significance. Now even though the forecast is average, earlier last year and last year also IMD predicted the average rainfall. However, there was sudden rainfall in June month, large, and the IMD failed to forecast that much amount of rainfall that resulted into flash floods. Okay, flash floods. There is also possibility of landslides. We have observed last 3 years continuously such kind of landslides are happening in Western Ghats, especially in Kerala. Okay, so a concentrated rainfall in particular time period in these 4 monsoon months, this is actually becoming the problem for accurately predicting and forecasting such kind of rainfall, and that is resulting into such kind of problems. Also it may result into spread of diseases, epidemics, spread of diseases or epidemics. This is also, we need to be prepared whenever there is more rainfall, right. So as a way forward, what we can focus in way forward, first thing is that now we have shifted to, IMD has progressed to medium term forecast. See, there are different types of forecast, weather forecasting, rainfall forecasting for monsoon. Short term, that is related to only 2 to 3 days, 1, 2 or 3 days maximum. Medium term, that means about 2 weeks, the rainfall is predicted, and long term is for let's say 1 or 2 months or almost for a particular season of monsoon, right. So medium term forecast has been now successful based on the dynamic models that IMD has now put into effect. So this should be capitalized by government or administration and prepare for any such kind of high rainfall activities, and we should be prepared for such floods, landslides and epidemics in advance itself, because already we are getting such inputs from IMD. Second aspect is that the farmer should be promoted, incentivized to sow high value crop, as there will be more rainfall, so they can sow high value crops instead of rice, where they are only dependent on MSP, right. So high value crops will surely get more remuneration to these farmers, and therefore the regional growth, overall growth, and we can say the welfare of the farmers. So high value crops in the cropping pattern, diversified cropping pattern, and high value crops should be ensured, they should be incentivized to sow such crops. In this manner the way forward should be written here. Now a simple question can be asked, Indian economy is intricately linked to the monsoon and distribution of rainfall. Elaborate. So you can go on elaborating the discussion that we have just now. Fine? Okay. Protect LGBTQIA community. High Court. The Madras High Court has now directed central government, Union Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment to enlist NGOs that could provide counseling, monetary support, legal assistance and protection to LGBTQIA, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual and such others. The community, largely we can say that until the new law could be enacted to protect them. At present there is no dedicated specific law to protect the members of this community. We can understand that they have been vulnerable section of the society for long period of time, and now as a progressive society, as a progressive and liberal country that we are moving towards, we need to provide protection and assistance to this community. So, right, the court also ordered that appropriate changes to be made to the existing government short stay homes, Anganwadi shelters, Garima Griha, shelter home for transgender persons, for providing accommodation, food, medical care and recreational facilities. Right. Then the sensitization programs could also be conducted for stakeholders, including police and prison authorities, judges, physical and mental health professionals, education institutions, health workers, public and private workplaces. So, sensitization program. See, suppose there is a case study. Suppose there is a case study and let us say you have been selected in a state civil services examination and you have been posted in a particular office and you belong to LGBTQ community, ideal hypothetical situation in that case study, and suppose you face a similar kind of, let us say, prejudices that we have in society towards this community, a discriminatory attitude by the colleagues in the office, then what will be your approach? Whether you will leave that job, whether you will let us say persuade other people to, we can say, have appropriate behavior, what steps that you will take in such situation, such kind of case study we can expect, right? At the same time, what are the ethical issues involved there? All these aspects are important. Let us try to understand some ethical issues involved in LGBT community. Briefly we will understand here. Ethical issues. Okay, so first and foremost is denial of basic human rights, or we can say human values are violated, like dignity, human dignity and respect. Then we can talk about inequality and discrimination. Inequality and discrimination. Third aspect, you can talk about the prejudices in the society and stereotype attitude of society towards the community members of LGBTQ. Then fourth, you can say ethics versus morality, ethics versus social morality, right? So these are the major ethical issues. Then we can say here, when we are talking about the LGBT community that is facing, so you should be aware about this. And if we are specifically talking about the LGBT community and their member, so you should be aware about the ethical issue. You can write them in your case study whenever such case study is asked. Now you should be aware that the discrimination starts basically from building of such attitude, and therefore the socialization by different social actors like parents, family, then we can say school, colleges, then religious institutions, and overall we can say even the government organizations, they reinforce such kind of attitude, right? So this is the socialization process, and when the child grows and get influenced by these members and their views, such prejudices and stereotypes typing attitude is we can say created towards any members of society. If you are talking about towards women, if we are talking about towards any particular caste, community, race, or even we can say this LGBT community that we are talking, right? So focus should be here as a way forward, and we can say that the attitude change, attitudinal change can be a long term process. This can have both approaches, persuasion and punitive approach also, persuasion and punitive approach. Okay, so yes, sensitization program, just now we talked about the government or the judge of Madras High Court has directed. Accordingly, a similar kind of approach you can talk about in the way forward here, right? Okay, so briefly we are talking about such kind of case study that can be asked here. Now moving on, Maldives wins UNGA election, India seeks close cooperation. Here what we are talking about when we are talking about the UNGA election, here President of UNGA, this presidential elections recently concluded, and the Foreign Minister of Maldives Abdullah Shahid was elected as President of UNGA for this year. Okay, so India actually supported and rallied diplomatic support to the candidate from Maldives. Okay, so he has won 143 votes out of 191. There was also candidate from Afghanistan who won 48 votes. This year actually from 5 geographic regions, Asia Pacific region, the president was supposed to be elected from this region. So basics about President of UNGA. So President of UNGA is the position voted for by its representatives on yearly basis. On yearly basis. It rotates annually between 5 geographic regions. You need to remember this 5 geographic regions, which are them? First African, second Asia Pacific. This year this was Asia Pacific region. Third Eastern European, fourth Latin American and Caribbean, and we can say fifth Western European and other states. Western European and other states. It is customary that no permanent member of UN Security Council ever serves UNGA president. Generally, the strong members, strong countries, they do not let's say preside or stand for the election of UNGA president. This is customarily followed. Okay, convention is created, not any law or any convention talking about, or even UN charter. Only countries that have had the national elected as president of UNGA twice. Which are these 4 countries? Argentina, Chile, Ecuador, Nigeria. These 4 countries, twice their member have been elected as a president of UNGA. Okay, so this can be asked in prelims examination. We need to remember this. Now, COVID-19 related developments. Yesterday, Prime Minister, in conversation with the people of the country, he announced certain measures. India would revert to the system of centralized procurement of vaccines against COVID-19, with free vaccines to be provided for this younger age group as well, and with 25% procurement kept open for private sector. This system will be operational by 21st June. Now, continuous insistence by various state governments, even let's say Supreme Court and different high courts have also insisted the central government to have centralized procurement. Now the central government has taken this direction, decision in this direction. a cap of rupees 150 on amount private hospitals can charge over the cost of purchase of the vaccine from the manufacturer. That means, suppose the manufacturer, or we can say that the hospitals are buying the vaccine from the manufacturer at suppose rupees 300, then they can sell at the max price of, or we can say these private hospitals can sell this vaccine at the maximum price of rupees 450. That is 150 above this 300, capping of 150. This is also good news. Then extension of free ration distribution scheme for 80 crore beneficiaries under Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana till Diwali in November. This is also good news. This will ensure the food security for larger section of population, especially vulnerable section. In a separate announcement, the government has said that students and those travelling abroad for jobs or as a part of Indian contingent for Tokyo Olympics can take second dose of Covishield after 28 days. Okay, at present this second dose is administered for common people after 12 to 16 weeks after first dose, right. So this is for exception to those students and travelling abroad for jobs as well as those participating in Tokyo Olympics. Fine. Okay. So yes, let us try to solve this MCQ. Let me give you some time. Try to solve this MCQ. Okay, so let us look into all these statements. The statements are related to UNGA president, so we have to identify the incorrect statement. Before reading the statements, look into the command of the question whether we have to find the correct or incorrect statements or pairs, right. So the president of UNGA is elected on yearly basis. Yes, this is correct. Presidency rotates among 5 geographic groups. This is also correct. In 2021, presidency is from African group. Now this is incorrect. This year the presidency is from Asia Pacific region and the president have been elected from Maldives. Candidate from Maldives. So we have to find the incorrect statement and only 3 is the incorrect statement. That's why answer should be C, right. So in this manner we can solve such MCQs. Okay, so these were important articles from today's The Hindu newspaper. In addition to these, LUKMAAN IAS is providing a very good value enriched, or we can say value added material on daily basis, both for current affairs as well as from the static part on our LUKMAAN IAS YouTube channel as well as Telegram channel. So the description of this video has the links to both, so you can subscribe to YouTube channel as well as to Telegram channel for getting these resources on daily basis. For further information regarding the test series of ethics, polity, essay paper and public administration optional, you can contact LUKMAAN IAS. Thank you.
Live online classes are as effective as offline classes. Ethics with S. Ansari remains the best ever choice. Do you know that ethics paper is the only paper in general studies that pays more with less efforts? One can easily secure 130 to 140 marks. LUKMAAN IAS is a well-established name since 2014 for ethics paper. We offer 3 types of courses: Ethics Foundation course, Ethics Case Studies and Ethics Test Series. Since 2015, LUKMAAN IAS students have maintained the records of securing the highest marks in this paper. Ethics Foundation course is starting from 21st of June 2021. Classes will be for 4 days in a week from 11 am to 1:30 pm. The course duration is of 60 days and the videos will be available for 75 days. There will be 43 classes, of which 35 classes will be focused on theory and concept building and 8 classes will be dedicated for case studies. There will be over 180 case studies and 3 tests. Since 4 months are left for prelims, one can easily finish the ethics paper before prelims itself, and it's a good opportunity. So why to wait? Contact us today for more information.